wanna see you through. I wanna see you be brave.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Speaking our word of truth, knowing that as we enter into this new month of May, that it is bringing us hope and clarity and understanding. You know, as a lifelong introvert, this stay at home has been really quite joyful for me. I found that, you know, I'm really quite content to be here and be surrounded by the beautiful space that I have here. And so I do miss being able to reach out and connect with everybody when we come together at the sanctuary. And I know that time will be here soon enough, that we will return. We will do so in a safe way. And I believe that we're going to come through this with a new understanding of what it means to be here in this thing called life, and to be accountable and responsible for our individual expression and our experience. And as the song was saying, and as we say in Science of Mind, you know, it's our thoughts and it's our words that we bring forth the action and the way in which we allow ourselves to be in this world. So I know that when we have this time to be in the stillness and to go within and find that deeper essence that I know is a part of each and every one of us, that we will find that truth that we're all seeking. And that leads us into some of our theme and our topics for this month. The title for today is Seat of the Soul. In my understanding, as I think upon that, is that that's that place within us. That's the essence, the inner presence that is at the very depth of who we are. If we call it our soul, if we call it our inner presence, whatever it is that we might use to identify it, I know that it's when we touch that space. And it also is often referred to as that the inner heart, the compassion and the love of who we are. We have in our Science of Mind magazine, and I want to share this, let's see if where did I go here? Share screen. I want to share out of the Science of Mind magazine one of the articles, and this is Dr. Edward Viejon, the minister at the Santa Rosa Center for Spiritual Living, and he is our newly elected spiritual leader for all of Centers for Spiritual Living. And in his article, as he's talking about giving your heart time and space, these words from Ernest Holmes: I will listen for thy voice, inner presence. It will guide me and acquaint me with all knowledge. Thy voice is sweet and tender. It is always kind and gentle. O lover of my soul, how I adore thee, how I love thee. How I love thy voice. It thrills me with gladness and joy. It fills me with peace and calm and soothes me. It quiets me and gives me wonderful rest. I listen, O divine speaker. I listen to thee alone. these words from Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, are ways in which I know that I have found for myself in this time to go within and find that quietness, find that inner stillness. And because I practice this throughout every day and throughout each week, regardless of whether I'm at stay at home or not, it's one of the practices that I'm forever involved in getting quiet and listening to that deep inner peace and stillness. And because I do so, it's one of the reasons why during this time I've found myself to be quite comfortable. I'm quite content, and I have everything that I really need. And I know that that's not true for everyone. And I think that one of the ways in which we may lead ourselves into a place of disharmony and a place of perhaps frustration is that we're not taking the opportunities that we have to settle within into our heart and settle into that deep seat of the soul, the essence of who we are, the very presence that allows us to be here in this life and to be in expression. I've said this before, and I think I'm going to just stick with this idea that the universe, that nature has brought us to this point in this time and place with a message that says that we can do better. We know how to behave. We know how to be compassionate. We know how to love one another with acts of kindness and joy and peace and harmony. And perhaps this is just an opportunity for us to kind of rethink what it is that we've been doing and how it is that we've been behaving, how we are treating each other, how we are treating our planet, this our Mother Earth, and the way that we're acting. And we know that we can do better. And that's not that we need to give up anything, but we need to look at what are our priorities in life and how it is that we want to bring it forth into a greater understanding in a greater truth. There's a quote in the Science of Mind magazine in today's reading from Ernest Holmes. It says, "The divine idea stands back of all human thought, seeking admittance through the doorway of the mind. The divine idea stands back of all human thought, that there is a idea, there is a perfect pattern, there is a perfect idea, there is a perfect light that is standing back behind each and every one of us. And it is that power and that presence that brings forth in the energy and the essence of what it is, the opportunity for each of us as a unique individual expression of that spirit to come forth into this life and to fulfill it in a greater way." And I had that thought when earlier before we started service and Joe and Beth were talking about creating this puzzle, and that they had some missing pieces out of the puzzle. And so they got very creative. There was a divine idea that says we know what this puzzle looks like in the, if we were in the mind of God, we know what it looks like when it's whole, perfect, and complete. And through that idea, it wanted to express itself. And so in its creative nature came through in that unique personality of Joe and Beth to create the puzzle piece that was necessary in order to complete the picture. And I believe that that's the way in which life is expressing here on this planet Earth and in this galaxy and probably throughout the entire universe. It's as if the divine presence has a perfect picture. It has a perfect idea of what wholeness looks like, of what perfection looks like. And it has made a jigsaw puzzle out of it and then threw it out into manifest into the universe in all of the movement that's going on in planets and stars and galaxies and black holes and whatever is there in the universe. It's one big puzzle. And each of us is a part of that. And that if we can go within and touch into that place of who we are, if we can come to that understanding and realization that the puzzle cannot be complete, that picture of perfection, of wholeness, cannot be complete until each of us comes through our own experience in our own expression, bringing forth into life that part of which we are here to be. Every one of us is here for a divine purpose. Every one of us is here in order to complete the picture of perfection. And so you're necessary. You are absolutely a part of this greater idea of life. And it's forever urging you into a greater expression. It's bringing you an opportunity in your daily life, in your daily experience, to move through whatever is showing up in your life in order for you to use the power and the presence that is within you to come into a place of a greater experience. There is, in my mind, no reason for anyone to be in a place of suffering and pain that they cannot move out of if they're willing to do the work that Spirit calls upon you to bring forth that healing presence, that healing power that is within you, so that you can have the experience of more joy and more harmony and more peace. I want to go to another share on the screen here. Our theme, let's see here. So this is our theme and our topic for the week, Seat of the Soul. And the theme is this month starts with a regrounding and a coming back into an alignment with our soul, recognizing an inner power and presence that is our true nature and that we are inseparable from the divine. That in this month, we have an opportunity to reground ourselves and come back into alignment with that power and that presence of who we are. The seat of the soul, I believe, is the place in which we reside in the infinite presence and that eternal life and that divine power. And that out of that, we come into this manifestation and into this form that we call our physical body, that we call our personal self. But if we are willing to take the time to find some quiet, still time to go within, do some reading, listen to some joyful music, find whatever it is that resonates within your heart and your soul, your essence, that allows you to come into a place of understanding the truth of who you are, that you are a divine expression of spirit, that you are meant here, you are meant to be here for a purpose. And only you can determine what that purpose is. Only you can bring forth out of that idea of what is your perfect piece of the puzzle, that you can show up in life and that you can complete the idea that the divine presence that God has put forth in order to bring forth that wholeness. It strikes me that as we are in this time of semi-isolation, where we're feeling separate from one another, that we're probably all going through an experience of grief, that we're probably all feeling this idea of loss. My family had a loss this week. One of my in-laws passed away, and I was talking with some of my family members about some of the grief work that I do. And I was just reminded again that so often, so many of us are in a moment of grief, that we're finding ourselves with a loss of something, whether it's the connection that we're having with each other in our sanctuary on Sunday, or it's the loss of employment and compensation and income at this time, or it's a loss of a family member or a pet, or just the loss of not being able to get out and be there. And grief shows up in so many different ways, and we never know what's going to trigger it. But it shows up oftentimes as not only sadness and sorrow, but it shows up as anger and frustration. And it shows up as a feeling of hopelessness and lack and limitation. And I know that as we look out into the world today, that the behaviors and the actions that we're seeing from so many people is really a sign of grief that they're going through. And though we may not always agree with the behaviors that are being expressed, we can come together with an understanding that we are all in this together, that it is necessary for each of us to understand that everyone is having some sense of grief during this time. And that if we are willing to step up, if we are willing to call upon that higher presence and that divine intelligence that I know is within each and every one of us, then I know that we can bring this puzzle, however it's going to show up in life today, because we know that the picture changes daily, the picture changes weekly and monthly and generation to generation, but life really truly is like a puzzle, and it is necessary for each of us to come forth and to shine as brightly as we can in that way that we bring forth the greater sense of truth of who we are. So I just invite you in this month of May to take whatever time you have available to listen to your heart, to find the depth of your soul, to find that inner presence of who you are, and bring that forth in order that we may come through this experience, this quarantine, this stay at home, this virus, knowing that somewhere within all of this, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to show up in life in a greater way. And so I want to close with the affirmation that comes out of the journal that we've been using this week. The affirmation, I am grounded in the power and presence of life itself, the oversoul, and it is from that place from which I move. I move out of that place of power and presence, that I know that who I am is a divine expression and experience of spirit moving through me. And together we bring forth this greater picture and we complete the puzzle of wholeness and love and sharing. Thank you and namaste. Thank you. And so this is an opportunity for us to once again invite Victoria to bring us another piece of music.
Am I unmuted? There we go. That was exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you. And this is the song that helps me move from that place of pain, which oh geez, sorry, I've been struggling with. So, yeah, let me share. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't fight the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out. And ooh, mountains, we're gonna walk it out and move. Mountains, and I'll rise up